The CEO of the most powerful AI company in the world publicly attacked this book, said it was misleading, said it was unfair, and then his company went on to do almost everything the book warned about. That alone should tell you this is worth your time. But here's what's stranger. Atlas of AI isn't a tech book. It's not about algorithms or model weights. It's about where AI actually comes from, the land it extracts, the workers it discards, and the political structures it reinforces. It's a book about geography, labor, and power. And the reason it makes powerful people uncomfortable is simple. It refuses to talk about AI as if it exists in the cloud. Kate Crawford is a senior principal researcher at Microsoft Research and co-founder of the AI Now Institute at NYU. She spent years traveling to the physical sites that power AI, lithium mines in Nevada, Amazon fulfillment warehouses, facial recognition courts. This book is the result. It was first published in 2021, and the updated 2025 edition makes it almost more relevant now than it was then, which is either impressive or depressing depending on your mood. CTA moment. If you want AI books broken down with a critical eye, not hype, not doom, just sharp analysis, subscribe now. That's exactly what this channel does. Now let's get into it. Crawford's argument can be stated plainly. AI is not a technology. It is an extractive industry. She structures the book around a single image, a map, not a network diagram or a data pipeline, but an actual geographical map. The argument is that you cannot understand AI without understanding the physical world it consumes. She opens with the Thacker Pass lithium deposit in Nevada, one of the largest in North America, contested by indigenous groups, slated for mining to fuel the batteries that power data centers. Her point is blunt. The clean future of AI runs on very dirty extraction. Then there's labor. Crawford spent time inside Amazon's fulfillment network and documented something chilling. Workers whose every movement is tracked, timed, and optimized by the same AI systems that Amazon sells to other companies as productivity tools. She quotes internal Amazon documents showing that the algorithm flags workers for termination automatically without human review. On data, she argues that the dominant training data sets, ImageNet for instance, were built on mass appropriation. Millions of images scraped without consent, labeled by underpaid workers in outsourced annotation farms. The phrase she uses is that AI systems are built on historical sediment, layers of human decisions, biases, and power structures baked permanently into the model. And throughout, her target is the mythology of neutrality, the idea that AI systems are objective, that they sit outside politics. Crawford's answer: nothing built by humans, trained on human history, and deployed by corporations is neutral. The question is always, neutral for whom? Here's where I part ways with the book, or at least where I think it demands pushback. The first issue is the framing of inevitability. Crawford writes as though the extractive structure of AI is baked in, that this is what AI is by nature. But the 2025 landscape complicates that. Open source models like Mistral and Meta's Llama have shifted the power dynamics she describes. Small teams are now running powerful models on local hardware, without cloud dependency, without centralized infrastructure. The thesis that AI necessarily concentrates power in a handful of companies has weakened, not collapsed, but weakened. She doesn't fully reckon with this in the updated edition. The 2025 editions focus on generative AI's labor impact and the expansion of surveillance, but the structural argument remains the same. That's a missed opportunity. The second issue is what I'd call the infrastructure fallacy. The book argues correctly that AI has massive physical costs, but it occasionally slides from these costs are real and underreported into therefore AI as a category is illegitimate. Those are very different claims. The internet has enormous physical costs too. Undersea cables, server farms, rare earth metals in every phone. We don't generally conclude from that the internet is a political error. The question isn't whether AI has physical costs. It's whether those costs are being externalized onto communities without consent and whether the benefits are being distributed fairly. Crawford is excellent on the first part. She's much vaguer on what fair distribution would actually look like. Third, the book underweights the genuine governance progress that has happened. Since the first edition, the EU AI Act has come into force. Several US states have passed meaningful algorithmic accountability laws. Amazon did overhaul parts of its warehouse monitoring after sustained labor action and regulatory pressure. Crawford acknowledges some of this in the updated text, but the overall tone remains one of structural capture. The sense that the political system is too compromised to push back. The evidence is more mixed than that. None of this makes the book wrong. It makes it incomplete in specific, identifiable ways. And that distinction matters if you're trying to act on it. If you work in AI, as an engineer, a product manager, a procurement lead, a policy person, this book will give you vocabulary and frameworks you almost certainly don't have. The section on labor and the section on affect recognition alone are worth the cover price. They will change how you spec a product, how you write a vendor contract, how you answer questions in a board meeting. If you're in leadership making AI investment decisions, the chapter on data provenance is essential. The legal exposure around training data has exploded since the first edition, and Crawford mapped the contours of that risk before the lawsuits arrived. Read it as a risk document. If you're a policy person or a journalist, the infrastructure chapters are the ones to prioritize. The environmental accounting of AI is still systematically underreported, and this book gives you the sourcing and the argument structure to push that conversation forward. What I'd pair it with, read this alongside The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman for the sharpest possible contrast. Suleyman's book is essentially the optimist's counter-argument, same technology, radically different frame. Reading them back to back tells you more than either book does alone. Next week, I'm covering Empire of AI, the book about Sam Altman that he reportedly tried to discredit before it even published. It covers OpenAI's internal politics, the board crisis of 2023, and whether the company's stated mission and its actual behavior are even remotely aligned. That one's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. But before you go, one question for the comments. Crawford's argument is that AI is fundamentally an extractive industry. Do you think that's a permanent structural feature or something that can be reformed from inside? I'm genuinely curious whether people working in the industry see it the same way she does, or whether they think she's describing a problem that's already being fixed. Drop your answer below. I read everything in the first hour.